We find ourselves at the beginning of September, a time of year which feels like a sort of new year without being a new year. Certainly any of us who've got anything to do with education, or we've got children at school or in college or university, it's a kind of new beginning. And a lot of us will have had the opportunity for some rest and relaxation over the summer months. Perhaps the pace of life has changed a little bit over that period, or we've been lucky enough to be able to be away for a little time. Some of you will know that I have a daughter who lives in Edinburgh, and I've been able to spend a few days up there with her over the summer period. And being in Scotland is an interesting experience because while it's part of the United Kingdom, of course, and there's a lot of shared history with the other nations of the United Kingdom, there is something of a sense of separate identity and culture there which you pick up when you visit. For me also, not only do I have a daughter there, but my wife was born and brought up in Edinburgh. And for myself, I have bits of Scottish heritage. It may be the place where I end up in retirement. That's still to be decided, though. But it raises those questions for me of where does one belong? Where is one's identity? Where is one's sense of home? One of the questions we often ask people when we meet them for the first time is, where do you come from? And that's a question I always find quite difficult. I was born in Germany. My father was in the British forces and stationed out there for a number of years. He himself was born in India. His father was a doctor who was working in India in the early part of the 20th century. Where we come from is an interesting question and quite hard to answer. And it's an important question because actually where home is, where we sense we belong, is part of what gives us our identity, our sense of who we are, our sense of security even. These are important matters at the moment for us too in terms of the political debate, and that hasn't gone away during the so-called quieter months of the summer. There's hardly been a day when something particularly about Brexit hasn't been in the news. And these are important matters. Those of us who sit in Parliament, like myself in the House of Lords, we're going to be considering these things a lot over these autumn months. There's an awful lot of business which one way or another is related to Brexit, which is going to have to be considered. And one of the questions which kind of underlies the political debate is this sense of where's home, where do we belong, where do we fit in, where do we fit in as a nation, what's our place in the world, what are our relationships with other nations, where do we sense that our identity lies. These are important questions for Christian people as well. We consider these things. There's an important verse in the letter to the Hebrews which says, "Here we have no abiding city, but we look for the one that is to come." What that seems to be saying is that actually our belonging in this world, our belonging in the structures of this world, is at best temporary. We're passing through. We're on the way somewhere else. And that perhaps adds a different kind of perspective to these questions of who am I? Where do I fit in? Where do I belong? Because for us as Christians, ultimately, we do not belong here. We belong with God. We're part of God's family, God's household. Our ultimate home, as it were, is in heaven. Yes, in earthly senses, we may be British subjects or citizens of whichever country we're citizens of, but we are ultimately citizens of heaven. That's where we aim for. So that question of who we are has a particular perspective for those of us who are Christian. And for us, above all, our identity, our being, is who or what we are in Christ. That phrase, in Christ, en Christo, is one which occurs particularly in the writings of St. Paul. He comes back to it time and time again when he's describing what our identity is, who we are, what our being is as Christian people. It is in Christ that we discover our identity. It is in Christ that we know who we are. It is in Christ that we know where we belong and with whom we belong. It is in Christ that we discover our purpose, our calling in life. To be in Christ is the most important thing. And so as we play our part, whatever that is, within all these debates that are going on, debates within the United Kingdom about the relationship between the constituent nations within it, debates around Brexit and our place in the wider world as well. For us, it's important to underline that whatever may be the outcome of these debates, whatever the insecurities that are created by them, actually our ultimate identity is in Christ. It is who I am, who we are in Christ, which is fundamental. And therein lies our security, our sense of who we are, our sense of where we belong.